My aunt expects me to support her financially for life, just because she babysat me twice as a kid. My aunt's outrageous demand. She expects me to support her financially for the rest of her life as payback for babysitting me twice when I was a kid. Yes, you read that right. 2 afternoons of babysitting have somehow become her justification for essentially trying to make me her retirement plan. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and my aunt, Jane, not her real name obviously, is my mom's older sister in her mid-50s. To give some background, Aunt Jane has always been a bit eccentric. She's the kind of relative who would make a big deal about small favors, turning them into grand martyr stories. For as long as I can remember, she's joked that I owe her for saving my mom's butt on a couple of occasions when she watched me as a child. We all used to laugh it off, because it was just 2 times and my parents did compensate her. I later confirmed they paid her back then, or at least treated her to a nice dinner each time. But Aunt Jane kept bringing it up over the years at family gatherings. Oh, remember when I basically raised for a day? He's gonna pay me back by putting me in a fancy nursing home, ha ha. We'd all chuckle awkwardly. I always thought it was an off-color joke. It wasn't. Aunt Jane's life hasn't been very stable. She's divorced, no kids, and has struggled with jobs due to her abrasive personality. Her words, not just mine. She openly complains that people don't understand her at work. She's also had some financial troubles, overspending, some debt. My mom has helped her out here and there, like letting her stay at our house for a month about a decade ago when she was between apartments, or giving her money for car repairs. So, she's been bailed out by family before. Still, nothing prepared me for what she pulled recently. A few weeks ago, out of the blue, Aunt Jane called me. We're not super close. I see her at holidays, and maybe we'll comment on each other's Facebook posts occasionally, but we don't chat on the phone normally. I thought maybe she needed help with her computer or something. I'm the tech guy in the family. Instead, she immediately started off the call with a weirdly cheery, "Hello, darling. Guess what? I've decided to let you take care of me from now on." I was confused and asked her what she meant. She said, paraphrasing a bit, "Well, you know how I used to take care of you when you were little. I babysat you when your parents needed me. And now that I'm older, it's time you return the favor. I expect you to support me, financially. Like a monthly stipend or something. Whatever you can reasonably afford. I'm not picky. I just need enough to live comfortably. You're a big shot engineer now, aren't you?" For context, I do have a decent job. I'm a software developer, but I'm by no means a big shot. I have my own bills, student loans I'm still paying off, and I'm saving for a down payment on a house. I'm comfortable, but I can't afford to support another adult completely. And even if I could, the entitlement is mind-blowing. At first, I honestly thought she was joking. Her tone was weirdly upbeat. I laughed a little nervously and said, You can't be serious." Her voice immediately hardened. "I've never been more serious. I expect you, as my nephew who I cared for, to help me now. That's how family works." She went on to say that since I was doing well and she wasn't, it was my duty to make sure she's taken care of. She even trotted out that old line, "After all I've done for you," which made me nearly choke. All she's done for me, aside from being generally a family presence, boils down to those 2 times she babysat. Let me elaborate on those legendary babysitting sessions that apparently justify all this. Babysitting session number 1. I was maybe 4 years old. My mom had a job interview and needed someone to watch me for the afternoon. According to Mom, she asked her sister, Aunt Jane, as a one-time favor. Aunt Jane agreed. Mom treated her to dinner later as thanks. I vaguely remember being at Aunt Jane's apartment, playing with her cat and watching cartoons. Nothing traumatic, no trips to the ER, just a few hours of basic childcare. Babysitting session number 2, I was about 7. My parents had to attend a cousin's out-of-town wedding I wasn't invited to. No kids at the venue. So they left me with Aunt Jane for one day and overnight. They paid her, I'm pretty sure, like they would a normal sitter. That time I remember more clearly. She took me to a movie, which my parents gave her money for, and then I slept on her couch. Again, all fine. That's it. Those 2 instances. In her mind, those were monumental sacrifices that entitle her to lifetime financial support from me. She's literally said things in the past like, "If it weren't for me, your mom wouldn't have gotten that job, and who knows where you'd be. You owe me, kiddo." We always thought she was just razzing me in a twisted way. But now she's flat out calling in this non-existent debt. Back to the call. As she kept talking, it dawned on me she really wasn't joking. I told her something like, "I appreciate what you did, but I can't take care of you. That's not my responsibility." I was trying to be diplomatic but firm. She did not take it well. She snapped, "I'm family, and I was there for your family. You ungrateful little shit. You think you can just turn your back on me." I was taken aback by the sudden venom. I said, I'm not turning my back, but you're asking for something unrealistic. Helping occasionally is one thing, but you're asking me to fund your life. That's not fair. I even offered, I can maybe lend you some money in a pinch or help you find resources, but I can't commit to supporting you indefinitely. She did not want to hear maybe or some. She wanted all out. She actually said, I'm not asking, I'm telling. I deserve this. You're where you are because I helped your mother when she needed it. At this point, I was getting angry too. My mom is the one who raised me. Aunt Jane just babysat a couple times. I told her, no, you don't get credit for my entire life. This conversation is absurd. I also might have said something snarky like, if you wanted payment, you should have billed my parents 20 years ago, not come after me now. That really set her off. She absolutely lost it on the phone. She started yelling so loudly I had to pull my cell away from my ear. She called me a selfish, heartless brat, said that I was abandoning an old woman who took care of you. Again, twice, for God's sake. She dropped a bunch of F-bombs and said I'd be sorry, and that blood is blood, you can't just ignore family obligations. I was shaken at this point, half in anger, half in disbelief. I told her if she didn't calm down, I'd hang up. She kept screaming, so I hung up. I was fuming and frankly, really hurt too, even though I know her demands are ridiculous. Having a family member say those things. It hits deep. I grew up hearing family helps family. But this feels like attempted extortion by a relative. After the call, I immediately phoned my mom, Aunt Jane's sister. Mom was horrified, to say the least. She apologized profusely for her sister's behavior and said she had no idea Aunt Jane would do something like this. My mom did confirm that she never promised Aunt Jane any kind of lifelong support or anything insane like that. Apparently, Aunt Jane is now claiming my parents promised to take care of her in her old age in exchange for helping them, which my mom swears is a complete fabrication or misunderstanding at best. Mom and Dad both told me not to give in to Jane's demands. Dad was livid, wanted to call her and give her a piece of his mind, but Mom convinced him to hold off and not pour gasoline on the fire just yet. They did call her, though. Mom tried to talk sense into her after I told them. That did not go well. Aunt Jane apparently doubled down, telling my mother that I was disrespectful and that today's kids have no sense of duty. She then apparently shifted to guilt-tripping my mom, saying it was partly Mom's fault for not instilling proper values in me. That really made my blood boil when I heard it. She's blaming my mom now? From what Mom relayed, the call ended with Aunt Jane issuing an ultimatum. Either I agree to take care of her, she's being vague on exact terms, but she basically means pay her living expenses, or she's going to make sure everyone in the family knows how selfish we are. Mom told her she was being unreasonable, and Jane hung up on her too. So yeah, now we have a full-blown family rift forming. True to her word, Aunt Jane has started contacting other relatives about this. I've already gotten a call from my cousin, from Dad's side, who has nothing to do with this, saying that Aunt Jane posted something on Facebook about being betrayed by the one she sacrificed for. She didn't mention me by name, but it was obviously aimed at me/us. I saw that post too. It took a lot of willpower not to comment and defend myself. But I know getting into a Facebook war would only make things worse, so I've held back publicly. That cousin called to ask what the hell was going on. I gave him the short version and he laughed in disbelief. However, not everyone is laughing. A few family members, distant relatives, or ones who for some reason have a soft spot for Aunt Jane, have reached out privately, urging me to maybe just help her out, she's family and she's struggling. They don't seem to grasp the extent of her demands. They think she just needs a little help with rent or something. I had one uncle, by marriage, basically say, you're a young, strong man, and she's your aunt. In our culture, family looks after each other. Can't you spare some money each month? She did watch you when you were little. It's infuriating because A, I doubt these people know she expects support for life, not just a one-time help. And B, none of them are volunteering their own money, of course. It's easier to tell me to do it. I feel like I'm going crazy. This situation is so stupidly absurd that it should be a comedy sketch, not my real life, yet the stress I feel is real. My aunt is blowing up my phone with texts now. I stopped answering her calls. Her texts oscillate between apologetic, I forgive you for yelling at me, I know this is a big change for you, and downright nasty. You can't ignore me forever. Don't force me to take action. I have no idea what action means here. Is she going to sue me for not letting her mooch off me? Is that even a thing? Or will she show up at my doorstep or job and cause a scene? My girlfriend was with me when one of those nasty texts pinged my phone, and she was floored. She urged me to block my aunt and even suggested I screenshot and save these messages in case we need evidence of harassment. It hit me then that this isn't just a family spat. It's veering into harassment and extortion territory. Who knows what she'll do next? A paranoid part of me even worries she might try to contact my employer or do something drastic to pressure me. It sounds far-fetched, but at this point, I wouldn't put it past her. I haven't responded to her since that call where I hung up. My parents are supporting me, both emotionally and with the stance that I should not cave to this. But I'm worried how far Aunt Jane will go. This is already causing family drama, and I hate that. I hate conflict, and she's dragging me into a huge one. Beyond the anger, I'm also just really sad and anxious. This is my aunt, someone who used to buy me ice cream and read me stories when I was little. It's heartbreaking that now I have to view her as a potential threat. My stomach knots up every time my phone buzzes, and I've lost sleep dreading what she might do next. Also, I'm slightly worried because she is family, and if she truly becomes destitute, I don't know. I don't want her to suffer or be homeless. But I also know she's responsible for her own life choices. And the way she's approaching this, by demanding and attacking, makes me absolutely not want to help her at all, on principle. I'd be lying if I said I didn't briefly consider just giving in a little to keep the peace. At one low moment I thought, maybe I could pay one of her bills or send her a bit each month, just to stop the fighting. But no, I realized that would be like throwing meat to a wolf. She'd only come to expect more and more, and it would essentially validate her insane idea that she can bully me into being her personal ATM. So I shut that idea down fast. Right now I'm holding firm and not giving in. But I have a feeling this isn't over. I'm bracing for whatever comes next, and I'll update here when it inevitably does, because I suspect things are going to get even uglier. For now, I just needed to vent and get advice. How the heck do I deal with a family member who thinks 2 days of babysitting equals I owe her my financial life? Update 1. It's been 2 weeks, and my aunt's behavior has only gotten more outrageous. I ended up blocking her number after the initial blow-up, but that didn't stop her. She actually showed up at my workplace a few days later, causing a scene in the lobby. I was horrified. She was literally screaming my name in the lobby and creating a huge scene. She shouted that I was ignoring family and demanded I agree to support her, all in front of my coworkers and our security staff. It was mortifying. I had to escort her out as she kept yelling that I owed her. She only left after security intervened, but not before screeching, "This isn't over," on her way out. Thankfully, my boss was understanding. After I gave a very brief, mortified explanation, but I've never been so embarrassed in my life. Blocking her phone only prompted her to bombard me with emails and social media rants. One day, it's pitiful pleas. How can you do this to your poor aunt? And the next, it's furious threats. You'll be sorry for this. The emotional whiplash is exhausting. She even hinted about taking me to court to demand reimbursement for those babysitting days. I doubt any court would entertain that, but just the fact she thinks it might shows how unhinged this has become. She posted a long, unhinged Facebook status, painting me and my parents as monsters who abandoned their own. She even claimed she practically raised me and that I'd leave her homeless after all she's done. Some extended family who saw it were understandably upset and reached out to me, genuinely thinking I cruelly abandoned her. I've had to explain the real story to several relatives. One cousin initially lectured me about family duty until I told him what she was actually demanding. He swiftly changed his tune. While most have come around to my side once they hear my perspective, a couple of people still think I'm somehow obligated to help her. It's caused a huge family rift and plenty of gossip. Even my poor grandparents tried to intervene. They called Aunt Jane and told her to stop this nonsense, but that only made her angrier at me for sending Grandma after her. My grandparents are now distressed and heartbroken over this family drama, which makes me even more furious at Jane for dragging them into it. My mom even broke down crying, apologizing to me for ever having asked her sister to babysit years ago, as if she could have predicted this madness. I told Mom it's absolutely not her fault. I've mostly stayed quiet publicly, despite her lies, hoping it will blow over, but it's taking a toll on me. This whole ordeal feels like a nightmare. I've been anxious, unable to sleep properly, and even struggling to focus at work. I even had a full-blown panic attack one night after reading one of her nastier emails. This stress is like nothing I've experienced. I even briefly consulted an attorney about what I can do to protect myself if she keeps this up, or try something extreme. And about that extreme part, I got a voicemail from Aunt Jane yesterday that left me reeling. In it, she calmly informed me that since I won't do my duty by funding her, she'll be moving in with me so I can at least provide her shelter. She said, in an eerily cheery tone, that she'll be arriving next week and expects me to have her room ready. I am speechless. When I heard that message, I felt a mix of rage and panic. She's truly planning to invade my home as if it's her right. I even replayed her voicemail twice, just to confirm I hadn't misheard this madness. Let me be clear, I have not agreed to this, nor would I ever. I live in a small one-bedroom apartment. There is no her room, and even if I had space, this is beyond insane. I'm treating her voicemail as a threat. I've alerted my building management, even gave them her name and a photo, so they won't let her in. I've also warned close friends and neighbors about the situation, so no one accidentally lets her into the building. It feels surreal and awful that I even have to take such precautions against my own aunt. My parents told me if she does show up, do not let her in, and they'll drive over as well to help handle it. They live 30 minutes away. I'm grateful for that, but honestly, the thought of it even coming to that is giving me nightmares. I never wanted things to get this ugly, and it makes me sick that I might have to involve the police on my own aunt, but I'm being forced into a corner. If she tries to force her way into my home, that crosses every line. My plan is to firmly refuse her entry and call 999 emergency services if she won't leave. This is an absolute nightmare, but I'm trying to stay strong. I will update again soon, especially if she actually attempts to follow through on this moving in threat. I'm on edge, equal parts angry and heartbroken that it's come to this. But if she really tries to push this boundary, I'm prepared to do what it takes to protect myself. We'll see if she actually goes that far. Update 2, buckle up, because the situation climaxed in the most dramatic way possible just a few days after my last update. Aunt Jane showed up at my apartment, luggage and all, ready to move in uninvited. The whole ordeal was equal parts absurd and horrifying. Despite my precautions with the building management, she managed to slip in behind another tenant who was entering. Ugh. I got a call from the front desk that a woman is here insisting she's your guest. My stomach dropped. I told them to stall her and sprinted downstairs with my phone already dialing my parents. When I got to the lobby, there she was, 2 bulky suitcases, camping out on a lobby chair with a look of triumph. She stood up as soon as she saw me, and in this sickly sweet tone said, "There's my boy. I told you I'd be coming. Let's go upstairs. I'm exhausted." Like nothing was wrong, as if she hadn't threatened and harassed me for weeks. My hands were literally shaking, but I tried to remain calm. I said as evenly as possible, "You are not coming up. You do not have my permission to live with me." Her smile vanished and she went stiff. "Don't be silly," she snapped. "I'm already here. We'll talk about the rules once I'm inside." She grabbed one of her suitcases and tried to push past me toward the elevators. I quickly stepped in front of her, blocking her path. I told her loudly, so the front desk staff and a couple of residents in the lobby could hear. "No, you are not welcome to move into my home. If you don't leave, I will call the police." My voice was loud, adrenaline pumping. Aunt Jane's eyes bulged with rage that I'd dare confront her publicly. She started yelling at me, full volume. "I'm your aunt. You owe me this. You ungrateful piece of—" catching herself before fully cursing. "After all I've done for your family." People in the lobby were staring wide-eyed. The concierge was already calling building security, and I had 999 emergency services ready on my phone. I told her this was her last chance to leave on her own. She yelled, "No, I'm not going anywhere. This is my right. Family is family. You can't treat me like a stranger." She then actually sat down on her suitcase, folded her arms, and said, "I'm not leaving. Call whoever you want." It was like dealing with a petulant, evil toddler. So I did. I stepped away and told the emergency dispatcher that I had an intruder in my building who was refusing to leave. I made sure to say it loud enough for Aunt Jane to hear. She started screaming obscenities at that point, calling me a disgrace, saying I'd pay for this. It was a blur of adrenaline, fear, and embarrassment. Within about 10 minutes, though it felt like an eternity, 2 police officers arrived. My parents also rushed over and arrived just as the police did. The look on my mom's face was heartbreaking, part sorrow, part anger, part disbelief at her own sister's behavior. The officers separated everyone to ask what was going on. I explained that my aunt was trespassing and had been harassing me to support her financially. She tried to interject with her story. "I'm not trespassing. This is my nephew, and of course I'm allowed to be here. We're family. This is a family matter." She was nearly hysterical, switching between yelling and trying to sound like a wronged victim. I stayed firm, though I was trembling. I said, "I do not want this person in my home. She is not welcome and is causing a disturbance. Please remove her." My dad also backed me up, telling the police that she'd been told not to come. One officer pulled my aunt aside and gave her a stern, no-nonsense lecture about how she cannot force her way into someone's home and would be arrested if she refused to leave. She tried to argue at first, but when it became clear the police weren't on her side, she collapsed into sobs, wailing that we were abandoning her. My mom was crying quietly off to the side by this point, and my dad stood by with clenched fists, saying nothing. Finally, faced with the prospect of arrest, Aunt Jane stood up. Before letting the officers escort her out, she pointed at me and my parents, and snarled that we were cruel and that I'd regret this. But ultimately she allowed the police to walk her out of the building. With that, she was escorted away by police. My aunt, who once babysat me with a smile, was marched out of my building while my neighbors and family watched. It was absolutely surreal and gut-wrenching.